Globalization is an undeniable fact of modern life. Starting from the liberalization of the Chinese economy in the 1980s, to the fall of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s, and the formation of an integrated monetary union in the European zone in the late 1990s, and then a common currency, a tremendous amount of exchange of goods, services, people, information, data, and capital has been ongoing for the past few decades. We all know this phenomenon to be called deglobalization. This phenomenon has been ongoing for a long time, and there have been different stages of this. The most hyper-connected phase of this globalization in recent times has prompted some scholars to call this hyperglobalization. This trend has been reversing in recent times, however. The onset of the global financial crisis in 2007 and 8, the European debt crisis in the 2010s, especially the Brexit where Greece almost left the European Union, and now COVID-19 pandemic are major contributors to the slowdown of this hyperglobalization. We call this, humorously, Slowbalization. Some early indications of these slowdowns have been felt in the supply chain figures and economic ratios like international trade investments as a proportion of the country's GDP. Now, Donald Trump's election and Brexit have been major catalysts of this slowdown because they resulted in a deceleration of cross-border economic integration and flow of capital. Moreover, in recent times, protectionist talks are being heard more into the mix. Nationalism and populism are on the rise, and the final blow to this has been the coronavirus hit. So, globalization is slightly on the back gear. But what does this mean for the future? We will take a look at this from a developed and a developing country's point of view, and finally, what this means for MNCs or local firms. For the rich countries, this means that the jobs that they previously lost during the industrialization phase are not going to come back because of automation and proliferation of technology. Industry 4.0 is already here, and old manual jobs, menial jobs, are not coming back. It is just not going to happen. As much as the citizens of those countries call for protectionist measures to be given preferential treatment by their governments, those policies may not be the savior that they think they are. As a matter of fact, social interactions and data flow between countries did not slow down until the coronavirus hit. This indicates that the concerns of people are more of economic nature and less cultural or social. So, populist, nationalistic, or protectionist calls are rooted in economic concerns and not necessarily social or cultural aversion to others. Another fact that we have to grapple with is that the wealth disparity or the wealth inequality is probably here to stay for the foreseeable future. Globalization may have exposed this ugly truth about our societies, but it is unfair to completely blame wealth inequality on globalization alone. Instead, local government policies which target income distribution, taxation, and the huge power at the hands of multinational companies are guiltier of this widening income gap. Now, for developing or poorer countries, this means that the Chinese miracle is probably not going to happen again. These countries will probably not be able to copy and paste the Chinese formula and overtake developed countries with the same speed and intensity that China has been able to achieve over the last couple of decades. Lastly, for local and global firms, this means that flexibility and adaptation is the key to survival, more than ever before. The landscape in which technology is transforming not only how businesses operated, but also conceptualized and built, how capital is raised, exemplified by fintech and blockchain-enabled technologies, simply means that the old way of doing business is over. These companies have to adapt, and we as future global citizens better move along with it. So that's it for this video. I will see